Jennifer Roberts, Pod Queen. And I have guests today. I have Allison and Samuel Moseley, and they're going to do the love stories section with me again. So you guys, I've done love stories with people, and what we're doing is we are just getting you guys to tell your story because everyone has a real romance. And people have fantasy about what romance is. You know, they read Harlequin romance or Danielle Steele or whatever. We want the real deal. We want, what is your story? So, first of all, how long have you guys been married?
12 years, last September.
Okay.
Which is a miracle, actually, in itself.
That's right.
Because about those first couple of years, we were duking it out.
You loved me.
But it was awesome.
Why you were duking it out?
It was awesome. It's been an awesome journey.
So, let's start. So, how long ago did you guys meet?
Well, we met 13 years ago.
Okay.
We dated about 9 months before we got married.
Okay. And where were you at the time?
Birmingham, Alabama.
Really? Oh, I don't know why I thought it was Florida. So Alabama.
Yes.
Awesome. And anything catch your attention about him? That's my leading question.
I can take my shirt off right now if you want. We can relive the experience
We're
all
open
over
to that.
Well, we actually met in a bar.
Yeah.
We weren't saved. We were not believers. I was intoxicated.
I was highly intoxicated.
Yeah. We were intoxicated.
Okay, great.
And it was kind of a blind, like a setup. So we knew that we were supposed to meet each other, but we didn't know what that other person looked like. And so when I first met him, the words out of my mouth in my intoxicated state were, "You're the one."
You're the one.
And that was our entire meeting that first night.
So then she's standing there looking at me with a bottle of beer.
Yeah.
She said, "You're the one." And I just went, "What?" And then she dropped the bottle of beer at my feet on a concrete floor, and it splashed all over me, broken glass and alcohol. And then she just danced away.
Spun away.
So I was just
into the
standing
ground.
there.
That's it.
That was it.
Yeah.
So that was the blind date.
Right. And so then I leave, and
Something's
I
never
go.
changed.
Right.
I still spin away.
I go talk to my buddy. He goes, "Did you meet the girl?" And I was like, "Kind of. I don't really know what happened. It was really weird." And he was like, "What happened to your?" You know what I mean? It was really kind of funny.
So then what was the second meeting?
He showed up the next night at where I worked. I worked at a restaurant as a cocktail waitress.
Okay.
And he showed up next night and was sitting at the bar, and I got off work and we just started hanging out.
And were you able to recognize him?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Because I'm so
good
hot.
memory. I was just
There
so
it is.
blown away by his handsomeness.
No, it's true.
But
And my muscles.
yeah.
Did you your shirt on at this point?
Yeah.
Yes,
shirt
I had a
still
shirt
on.
on at this point.
That's good.
But we started hanging out, and he juggles. He's a professional juggler, juggles fire.
Actually, there's not many people that know that at IHOP, so we can.
Well, keep it private.
But you can hire him out if you
He
want.
does parties.
No.
We can leave right in. Why don't you say your number?
Really draws a crowd.
Wow.
So you juggled fire.
Yes. So we were, I don't know what we were doing.
We were
We were at some party or the park. Everybody kind of hang out in the park summer afternoon. So I was juggling, and she
That's
was
where
like,
the shirt was
"Oh
on.
my goodness, whatever."
I was like, there's that moment where the sun broke through the clouds and he was juggling, and I just knew. I was like, I will marry him.
Seriously?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's really bizarre. I was living on the West Coast in Northern California.
Yeah.
So I'm visiting my mother in Birmingham, Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
And so while I'm there, I go hear this band play at this bar, and she's there. But another friend of mine was like, "There's this girl there you guys should meet." The beer thing happened. And so I was planning on leaving the next week to go back to the West Coast.
Right.
And I was like, I'm just going to stay, and I'm going to pursue this girl.
Really?
Yes. And
That's
so
sweet.
I told the people I was living with on the West Coast, I was like, I'm just going to stay in Birmingham for a little while. I'm going to pursue this girl, and hopefully I'll be bringing her back with me to the West Coast. But that never happened, and I ended up staying in Birmingham, and we get married.
I also had temporarily come back to Birmingham from the West Coast. I had a bad drug addiction, and I had recently kind of been delivered of that and come back to the South to kind of live near family.
Yeah.
And then I met him, and I had plans to go back to the West Coast. I met him, and then I saw the juggler, and I was like, I need to stay. So
and the muscles.
And the muscles. So we courted.
Really? Okay, so you're not saved and you date how long? Before you get married.
Okay, so it's
8
about
9 months,
8 or 9
a year,
months.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, so how does salvation play into this?
Well, this is interesting. So, we've been dating. More like hanging out, sleeping together was more the
Right.
We're hanging out and partying.
We're partying,
we'll say
sleeping
dating.
together, but
Yeah.
whatever you want to call it.
Exclusive.
Yeah, it was exclusive.
So, Allison's parents, they want to meet me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so they take us out to dinner. And so, anyway, we eat dinner. I find out later that her mom heard from the Lord and said, that's the man your daughter's going to marry.
You're kidding.
No, this was probably 6 months in.
She'd met some people before him, and she was always like, "That's not the one. That's not the one." But she
Right.
met him, and yeah, she knew.
So it was September 98. So we're in about August 99. And I take a trip to California to do some traveling. And so I'm in Northern California, Oregon, and Washington.
Yeah.
Come back from that trip, was gone 4 weeks, and Allison's pregnant.
Surprise!
Yes, surprise. So we find out, and I hear the voice of the Lord. Like loud.
I'm freaking out in the corner with a positive pregnancy test,
Yeah.
having a mental breakdown. He's getting an audible download from the Lord.
No, I did. It was one of those.
Yeah.
It was one of those break-ins from God in the midst of, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's a total screw-up kid, but I can use him.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to get his attention in a real powerful way. And so I hear, you're going to marry that girl. Literally, I hear the sentence. You're going to have a boy, and I want you to name him Elijah. He's going to be a prophet to the ends of the earth. I'm sending my son, Jesus, back to the planet. And then the next phrase, and you're moving to Florida. And so
Unbelievable.
I
Yeah,
looked over at
I'm
Allison.
just having a breakdown.
Like a biblical proportion.
It was
But
bizarre. I didn't know what any of it meant.
It's like Saul.
And
on the
he
donkey.
had walked with the Lord for years beforehand. And I had been raised in the church.
As a kid,
But never saved. And so there was a foundation. He had a foundational relationship with the Lord. He had just walked away from it.
Sure.
So the Lord called him back.
Wow.
But it was funny
Like an
because
audible.
she's like freaking out in the bathroom,
Yeah.
and I'm out there, and I said, "Hey, don't worry about it.
I'm going to
We're gonna
marry
get
you.
married," And she looked at me, she was like, "You don't even have a job. You don't even have a vision in life."
No,
I'm married.
it comforted me when he said, "I'll marry you." I was like, okay, I was comforted.
Yeah.
But I don't think she really thought that.
I didn't believe it, but I was comforted.
So anyway, we ended up. So I had this resolve in my spirit, like I knew what I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden, literally, like 1 second not, 1 second I did.
Wow.
And so I just got a job,
Yeah.
whatever I could do to make money, and then we get married. I think it was 5 weeks later.
No, we got married in September. Found out I was pregnant in August.
Yeah.
Got pregnant.
So it was 5 to 6 weeks later. We moved to North Florida. Random event. Somebody called me on the phone. An intercessor.
Yeah.
I know what you're going through. I have a place in North Florida. If you want to live there for free, it's yours. And I was
That's
like,
insane.
this is bizarre. So I tell Allison. So then we moved down there, and then it was really
So
interesting.
previous to getting pregnant, this is a pretty significant part of the story. We met in late October, early November
Yeah.
of '98, and I actually got saved in January of '99.
Okay.
But I went through the motions. I met the Lord. I was instantly connected to the Holy Spirit. I felt the Lord. I knew that I'd been saved, but I had no tools to walk it out.
Sure.
And I'm not blaming anybody. I just didn't have.
Right.
I didn't have
You're just
a
dating.
community of Christians. I didn't know how to worship. I didn't know how to read the Bible. It was like, okay, I'm saved now. Went to a couple of churches. I was like, this isn't working for me. I don't like this church. I don't like this.
Right.
And so immediately fell back into sin.
Mm-hmm.
But with conviction, right. I didn't
enjoy it anymore.
Right.
You're messed up.
And
Yeah.
so then I got saved in January. I got pregnant in June, and I got married in September. It was a really hard year for
It was
me.
a hard year.
As an only child, the world is I'm the center of the universe, and all this stuff happened in a year. But it was so strategic. The Lord knew exactly
Yeah.
what He needed to do to get my attention.